In December of 2023, I had the bright idea of flying myself out to Florida for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The goal? To watch a rocket take off, and then land propulsively. And I filmed the entire journey. It all started in August when I looked at my phone and noticed a hard launch date for Psyche, a satellite intended for a metallic asteroid. So I planned an entire trip, bought admission tickets and flight tickets, rented a car, packed my things, and then proceeded to not go on that trip and cancel it thanks to a family matter. I was kind of annoyed that I missed out, so I immediately did what any ADHD-ridden person would do and plan a trip for the very next Falcon Heavy. And this is what happened on that trip. But first, I need to scare myself the night before. Almost had a scare for a bit because of the Sony HDR that I'm bringing for one of the shots. Because I realized that the Sony HDR uses a lithium-ion battery, and I know about the tendencies of lithium-ion batteries and the fact that they are prohibited. So just had a little check. Turns out I'm perfectly fine so long as I bring it with me. It all starts with me arriving at the airport, getting outside, and thanking my parents for driving me. It was only a few minutes later, though, that I realized that I was kind of early. And we have arrived 2 hours early. Whoa. I also noticed this. That there are a lot of people wearing Eagles attire at the Philadelphia airport. And I understand it's football season, but I don't know anyone that would stoop that low to do that. No biggie, this normally happens when I go to an airport. I just do what I normally do. Buy a coffee, find a place to sit down, work on a few videos, and wait for the plane to arrive.
That's way too fucking hot.
After a 2-hour plane ride to Florida, I finally made it to Orlando International Airport.
Alright, we're in Florida. Flight was fun, apart from the little kid that kept on hitting my seat in the back, but can't complain.
Now at this point you'd head straight for the luggage area and collect your things. However, I was hungry and knew better.
I already know that the cruise will be slow for the baggage, so I decided to get substance, which I'm desperate. I am so fucking tired. I got like 2 hours of sleep.
And then I was late to pick up my bag.
Whoops. I have my reasons, okay? Every single time that I've gotten to Orlando airport, the times are horrible for a baggage claim, to the point that I wait 30 minutes, so yeah, and I was hungry.
All that was left to do was pick up the rental car and hit the road.
And just like that, we got the rental ready, and we are on our way. And we have our car, and we are on our way south, because I have to go to the house real quickly. Wah wah. Yoink.
Now I know what some of you are thinking. Central, this is a coaster channel. Why are you vlogging your trip to a rocket launch? Well, first of all, this is my channel. I can do whatever the hell I want with it. And second of all, as some of you might know, I'm a bit of a rocket nerd.
For 6 years, I've been obsessed with rockets and the idea of making life multiplanetary, to the point that I actually want to work on Mars one day. And all this happened due to one launch, the inaugural flight of Falcon Heavy. I mean, who wouldn't be awestruck by this launch? You have a rocket carrying the richest man on Earth's car, shooting it into deep space, all the while David Bowie's Life on Mars was playing in the background. Oh, and did I mention the rocket fucking landed itself? This single launch catapulted me into a craze for rockets. So, when I saw Falcon Heavy was launching soon, I immediately made the gamble and went to it. After many hours of driving, flying, and even more driving, I finally made it to the place I was staying for at most a couple of days. Now, usually when someone visits Central Florida, the first thing they do is go to a park like Disney or Universal. Well, I'm not like other people. I have even greater ambitions than most. I went right to sleep.
Alright, it's nighttime now, and I have to head to Walla to get food. Also have to get a phone mount because I'm not going to hold my phone up during this entire trip, because holding it up from here is stupid, and I'm not doing that. One of the things that will confuse me when I go out of state is liquor not being in a liquor store. That's soda, that's red wine.
I began the preparations for the coming days, notably getting a car mount for my phone and... What is that? Sprite cranberry. Sprite cranberry. Sprite cranberry.
Want a Sprite cranberry?
Alright, we got everything. Just gotta install it later on today. Which means I'm not going to.
And as it got late, I decided to call it for the night and plan for the big day. The next day I woke up and ate a healthy breakfast of Sprite cranberry and cinnamon rolls. Interesting choice there. And as I looked at my phone, I saw some unfortunate news. The launch was delayed a day due to weather. To be honest though, I kinda knew it was going to get delayed as the system that was intended for Florida that day didn't really look that good on the radar. So, no biggie. That just meant I had nothing to do for the rest of the day, and I can just sit back, relax, and...
You know what? Fuck it, we're going to Fun Spot.
Okay, then we're going to Fun Spot Kissimmee!
The wall mount has been set up for the car. Didn't want to use the window mount, and it had a different type of mount that I could use, so I'm going to be using that for the entire thing. So basically, you're going to be at level during the entire trip. So, yeah, sorry about that. So we are going to attempt to head straight to Fun Spot Kissimmee and try and beat out an impending storm that's heading straight for Florida. So hopefully we get to there in time. Yeah, somebody should have told me that the RMCI box with nylon wheels creates such an abhorrent sound. Because holy shit, it drowned out my tinnitus. That's how bad it was. You know what? For the good majority of Mind Blower, it was fun. There were some spots where it tried to murder me. However, I can disregard that because, let's be honest, it's probably going to get even more retract done on it. Unless RMC doesn't do that, in that case, why? The RMC retracting is so smooth. However, it is the loudest shit I've ever heard.
Alright, got my 2 rides in. Alright, let's leave.
After 2 rides on Mindblower, I left the park and quickly went to get more supplies before the impending storm hit.
So bad news is I did not beat out the storm, but the good news is that meat's back on the menu, boys!
I then just drove back home, ate the barbecue that I had ordered, and watched the Philadelphia Eagles begin the greatest collapse since the 2020 Steelers.
Here we go, Brown. That sounded really f***ing racist. I did not mean it like that. Please do not take that out of context.
The day had finally arrived. The weather was perfect and I was psyched beyond belief. You can tell based off of how I am eating my breakfast, consisting of french fries and an energy drink. Dear God, what are these food choices? I then got dressed, packed the equipment I needed, and hit the road for the Cape.
Let's do this. We have made it after a 70-mile trek, and I am getting the jitters. Partly because I'm very excited, but mostly because it's colder than normal in Florida. Usually it's 70 or 80 degrees. Right now it's 50. On the plus side, I'm at Canaveral, so who cares?
Cape Canaveral, a place that is a museum and a wildlife sanctuary. Oh, and did I mention it's also the busiest spaceport in the world? My first trip to the Space Coast was in February of that year, and it was fun! So when I arrived there for the launch attempt that night, I was stoked I was back.
Not gonna lie, I kind of prefer the Kennedy Space Center Christmas apparel over Great Adventure. But that's just my opinion.
Now while Hangtime is waiting in line for the bus ride to the viewing site, I'll let you guys in on the launch that I was at. This launch was for the United States Space Force and their very classified X-37B spaceplane. This is used to experiment new technologies that could benefit the better of humanity or the US Department of Defense. These spaceplanes stay in Earth orbit for months to even years. For comparison, the longest space shuttle mission was just over 2 weeks. Anyways, the reason I was at this launch in the first place is because of the rocket carrying it into orbit, the Falcon Heavy. What was for 5 years the most powerful operational rocket, only to be beaten out by the highly over-budgeted Launch the Space Launch System, who then got beaten out by the Starship just 5 months later. The Falcon Heavy is still a beast though. Its most famous feature, however, has to be the side boosters landing near simultaneously back at the Cape.
Excuse me! Wow! Double-sided boost, baby!
Ever since I saw it for the first time, it was on my bucket list. And on that night, I was there to scratch it off that list. That being said, let's get back to how Central is doing on the bus ride.
I really need to use the bathroom.
Suffering already. Why am I not surprised? Once I arrived, I immediately took a pit stop and then took a little detour as there was still a little over an hour left until the launch window, which was a perfect idea because the Saturn V Launch Center has this in it.
what can be considered a rocket nerd's dream was standing right in front of me, and I was in awe. However, not for the same reasons as other people would be.
You know, some people look at the 5 engines on the second stage and see, oh cool, that's awesome, so much plumbing and everything. Then there's me wondering, is it gas generated? Did they use film cooling? How much helium did they use for the spin start? Why am I a f***ing nerd?
Anyways, it was time to prep for the launch attempt, so I stopped gazing at the eye candy and went outside.
Together on that pad, we're looking at a launch time of 8:14 p.m. right now. You know, this first launch, it's Falcon.
Alright, we are under 1 hour till launch. Trying to be as quiet as possible because there's other people here and want to be nice.
Most impressive things you'll ever see in your life. I mean, it's a 5 million pound thrust rocket.
There's like 3 rockets on the pad. 2 are launching today. 1's undergoing testing. And then Artemis' service structure is out for testing for Artemis 2 coming up soon. So a lot going on right now.
As T-0 got closer, you can feel the excitement in the air, along with the suffering that everyone was dealing with.
Also, it's cold for Florida right now. It's like low 50s, high 40s. Also, a lot of people have come up to me asking me a million questions like, oh, you've been here multiple times. Which one is the one that's launching? Where's the best area for Starlink? And I'm giving them the answers. But the funny thing is, this is my first launch at Kennedy, which is funny. I really do look like a nerd.
The clock was still going down. The first major milestone was the start of the propellant loading, which starts at T-minus 45 minutes. The weather was perfect. The atmosphere was perfect. Nothing could stop us. And then, it was scrubbed. Apparently, the launch was called off due to problems with the ground service equipment that feeds propellant to the transporter erector. Now, normally this wouldn't be a problem with a Falcon 9 that has hardware that is used all the time. But a Falcon Heavy launches at most every 3 months, meaning they still haven't worked out all the kinks on the ground service hardware. Obviously, I was disappointed in this outcome.
Motherfucker.
Now, before you say I had this coming, let me clarify something real quick. When a rocket is scheduled for a launch, it is not guaranteed. That's why it's called a launch attempt. They are attempting a launch. So many things have to go in right for a launch to happen. There has to be no precipitation in the area, and especially no lightning. If you want to know why that's a thing, go look up Apollo 12 after this video is over. Also, there can't be heavy amounts of cumulus clouds, the wind can't exceed a certain speed, and there can't be wayward ships in the water exclusion zone, no planes in TFR, no humans within the 3-mile exclusion zone, not to mention the millions of parts on the rocket as well as ground service equipment that have to work perfectly. Yeah, all it takes is just one of those things to go wrong for a launch to be scrubbed. Luckily, I planned for this, which is why I was staying in Florida until Wednesday morning. So in short, no biggie. I just went straight home and got ready for attempt number 2. That morning, I woke up to the worst news I could imagine. The launch was scrubbed another day. It was now scheduled to launch Wednesday night, as they wanted to be sure everything was right. Now, if you were paying attention, you would have remembered me saying, luckily I planned for this, which is why I was staying in Florida until Wednesday morning. Well, now I was in a dilemma, and had 2 options. Do I A, extend the time I have in Florida, which would require me to spend even more money, as well as not being able to go down to Florida for a couple months, meaning the upcoming launch of the Falcon Heavy in April would be off the board. Or do I B, cut my losses, attend the Starlink launch that night as a compensation saying, hey, at least I witnessed a launch, and head home the next day. I went for option A. I came down to Florida for a Falcon Heavy, and I had a track record of going to the launch scrubbing, only for it to launch the following day when I'm not there. And I was not going to let that happen. Until they delayed the launch indefinitely due to weather. I was in dismay. My track record for launches had reared its ugly head. Yet again. I had spent hundreds of dollars, and all the points I made when I subscribed to the American Airlines Advantage program for nothing. However, there was still a chance I could see a launch, as the Starlink launch scheduled for that night was still on. So I went to Port Canaveral, took a video of a recovered booster,
It's a spaceship.
and waited for the Starlink launch.
And
And we have an abort.
And then that one was scrubbed as well! This time, it was due to high winds less than a minute before launch. I was leaving Florida, empty-handed, and I was not in the happiest of moods.
I'm starting to think that the world is against me and it doesn't want me to watch rocket launches in person. I have gone to 6 rocket launches. 6. Only one of them launched, and it was the very first one that I went to. I can't catch a break.
So I know what you're all wondering. What was the purpose of this video? What did you even get out of it? What I'm trying to say is this. If at first you don't succeed, keep trying. It may cost a lot of money, but I will not stop until I witness a Falcon Heavy take off from Cape Canaveral and land propulsively back at the shore. And I promise I'll bring all of you along until the launch finally happens. Also, if you're a rocket company that wants to sabotage the launches of other companies, I'm open to talks. I'll set the price range though. My number is 9...
It's a spaceship.